The question from one of our viewers: how did you cope with your sentence, and how did you feel? What was the first thing you did when you got out? Well, how I coped with my sentence is I really tried to detach myself from the things of the world that I was kind of attached to before. So I didn't really have. I had some written correspondence with family members, but I didn't have any physical visits from family members. Um, the girl I was dating at the time kind of went about her way, and I just kind of really focused on me. When you're sitting in there, looking at 120 months, you try to think of things that you would do if you had the opportunity to be free again. And your biggest fear is you don't want to die in prison. You don't want to get caught up in a riot. You don't want to, something, drastic to happen to you to where you come out, you're not the same person. As far as physically, I did a lot of reading, a lot of meditating, a lot of writing. I spent a lot of time in the law library and tried to find people around me that I could learn from so that I would come out a more educated and a more balanced person. I know that's kind of ironic to say being in prison because you're around so much negativity, but being in the feds, there are some very articulate, educated people that you can learn from. So that's kind of like what I sought out. I sought out people that were in the law library, OGs who were in there fighting their cases, or guys who were teaching classes about maybe real estate or stocks and things of that nature, or writing. And I tried to focus on those talents and really just channel my energy that way. So by the time I got ready to be released, I'd already played out in my mind maybe a million times what I would do if I had the opportunity to be released. A lot of guys, they're not prepared to get out before their date. So, say if the gates were just to be open at a particular prison, and most of the guys sitting around watching, BT or what do you call it? Some of these other shows on TV, videos, they would just be stuck there. They wouldn't even be ready to get up and leave because they're not ready. They're waiting for their date. They're not prepared if they were given opportunity to embrace society. So I tried not to get conditioned in that manner. So I always acted like if I got out tomorrow, what would I do? And that actually prepared me for when I was released because I had been already, waiting on this day for years. I had been planning it out in my mind over and over again. So, first thing I did when I got out is I went to Hollywood, had a slice of pizza, and kind of just embraced my freedom. I had a friend of mine who kind of looked out for me when I first got out. Didn't really see any family members until almost a year after I got out. So it was mainly guys I met in prison that looked out for me. I had some good friends in prison that had relatives on the street that either helped me out or guys I did time with that gave me things that I needed. One of my friends gave me a car. The big homie Junior, a couple other homies introduced me to people they knew on the street that helped me out. A childhood friend I knew helped me get a job when I got out, and I just focused on trying to get my life back together. Technology had changed. There was earpieces, there were smartphones. I just tried to cope with it as best as I could, and I was at the halfway house for about 3 months before I moved out on my own, and from there I made the transition back into society. But the biggest thing was I never considered myself to be an inmate or an ex-con. I tried to not carry on that same attitude from prison to the streets because I see guys in the gym sometimes, and you could tell that guy did time. The way he walked, his body language, the way they move, and those are dead giveaways. And that's something I didn't want to really display when I got out. So I tried to watch a lot of that, because you unknowingly take on a certain persona when you're in prison because of just the environment you're in. So, I try to pay attention to that. I try to pay attention to the way I talk to people, the way I articulated myself, and a lot of people never knew unless I told them that I did time. They would never assume that I spent almost 10 years in prison. But those are the things that you kind of a lot of guys overlook when they're in prison because they're so caught up in the environment but that make a big difference when you get out. And that's why so many people go back, because they actually acclimate to that society better than they do the regular free society, and they feel more at home there. And I never wanted to feel at home while I was in prison. That wasn't my home. I was just passing through there.